Members of the royal family have their royal palaces, which are their official residences in London, and then they have their private residences. So somewhere like Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle is where the Queen will conduct most of her business and hold big state events.
It is a particular pleasure to welcome you both as our guests to Windsor Castle this evening.
But then she also has her private homes such as Sandringham and Balmoral, where she likes to go and retreat and just have some private time. And it's the same for other members of the family too. When she's visiting Scotland, the Queen has the Palace of Holyrood House, and in Northern Ireland there's Hillsborough Castle. And so there are plenty of places for her to host garden parties, to hold official events. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge live at apartment 1A in Kensington Palace, but they also have a 10-bedroom mansion in Norfolk, which is Anmer Hall, and that's somewhere they have actually lived full-time for several years when their children were very small, while William was working in the air ambulance service. They now go back there for weekends and holidays, and it's a perfect place for the children to get back out to nature and play freely outside without the fear of being spotted or watched by tourists at Kensington Palace. As well as fulfilling lots of public functions, Kensington Palace has a lot of sentimental value. It was home to Diana, Princess of Wales, and it's where William and Harry spent a great deal of time growing up. To mark the 20th anniversary of the Princess's death, the Princes and the Duchess of Cambridge opened a memorial garden to her in the Sunken Garden, which was one of her favourite places. And of course, visitors still flock to Kensington Palace because of its very rich history. It was the former home of Queen Victoria, and people can still go and visit the state apartments. Over the years, we've seen lots of A-listers. We've had Prince William performing with Taylor Swift and John Bon Jovi for Centre Point. We've had Coldplay performing in the gardens there for Centre Ballet, Harry's charity. And it's also played host to the Obamas, who came round to visit William and Kate and Harry at apartment 1A when they were over in London. We had a rare glimpse into the way Harry and Meghan spent their evenings when he told us in his engagement interview about how he proposed. And people love these little glimpses into their private lives. It gives you a little sense of what they're like behind the scenes.
Just a standard, typical night for us.
It's a cosy night. What we're doing, just roasting chicken
Trying to roast chicken.
Trying to roast a chicken. And it was just an amazing surprise.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have moved to Frogmore Cottage, away from Kensington Palace, and there are several reasons for that. One is that it offers them a great deal more privacy and freedom for baby Archie to grow up and play in the grounds without being watched by photographers and tourists. Frogmore has great significance for Harry and Meghan. It's where they held the evening reception for the royal wedding, having married at Windsor Castle earlier in the day. And they spent a lot of time in the Great Park, going for long walks and hanging out somewhere they could be fairly private in the months leading up to their wedding. So it has great significance for them. And of course, it's just a stone's throw away from the Queen. And so they're able to visit her and take Archie to go and see his great-grandmother whenever they like. The Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall are based at Clarence House, which is just a stone's throw from Buckingham Palace, and this is where they host people. They hold official events. They live there during the week, but at the weekend, Prince of Wales has Highgrove, which is his home in Gloucestershire, which he is, very fond of and has spent a lot of time developing into an attraction with beautiful gardens. And the Duchess of Cornwall actually has maintained her own private home, Raymond House, where she goes to spend time with her grandchildren. Buckingham Palace is the heart of the monarchy's official work, so you have huge numbers of staff there, all the offices, and you have fantastic facilities for state banquets, for garden parties. The Buckingham Palace balcony has played a really key part in the monarchy's history, from VE Day, when members of the royal family came out to celebrate the end of World War II, to royal weddings. We've had many kisses on the balcony over the years, and then of course every year at Trooping the Colour, when members of the family come out to watch the RAF fly past. So it's really closely identified with them in the public eye. Balmoral and Sandringham serve as retreats for the Queen and her family. It's where they like to go and spend time fishing, walking, shooting, carrying out sort of country pursuits that we know they're huge fans of. And it's also where they spend a lot of precious family time. So the Queen gathers everyone at Sandringham for Christmas, and she spends a lot of time there with the dogs around her. She's very well known in the local community, obviously, and she even attends the local Women's Institute meetings. Windsor Castle has always attracted hundreds of thousands of tourists, but over the past year we've seen a real uplift, and it's generated more than £1 million extra because of visitors wanting to go and see the venue where Harry and Meghan got married, where Princess Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank got married, and of course we had the 2 exhibitions with their bridal dresses and wedding outfits on display, which generated a lot more interest. The idea of a castle or a palace is something straight out of a fairy tale, and I think that holds a natural fascination for most people. And of course these royal residences are accessible in some ways to the public. You can go and visit the staterooms, but people generally love to see what other people's homes look like, and the idea of getting a glimpse of, say, the Cambridge's living room when they hosted the Obamas in those photographs, is quite exciting to royal watchers.